YouTube, my name is Jake Asman. Welcome in to my channel. We are one day away from the Jets season opener on the road against the Carolina Panthers and, of course, Sam Darnold and company. Joining me today to preview the game tomorrow and preview the entire Jets season overall is a good friend of mine. He is the co-host of the Gangs All Here podcast with the New York Post. He is Jake Brown. Jake, appreciate the time, man. Next time I got to get you and I guess Brian Costello on together. How does that sound?
Yeah, I mean, if we want to keep a mix of positive and negative, we'll do that. But it's good to talk to you. I'm glad football's back. I'm still kind of in baseball mode, but I'm slowly making the transition. But, once I'm locked in with Red Zone on a TV, Jets on another, then Giants at 4, and then Red Zone on all the other games, and parlays galore, that's when football will truly kick in.
So we will certainly preview the Jets season here. We will preview the game against the Panthers tomorrow. But first, I do want to say, please subscribe down below if you're a first-time viewer of this channel. If you already subscribe, well, one, thank you. Please like this video. It helps the YouTube algorithm show it to more people and help this page continue to grow. With that being said, Jake, let's talk about the game tomorrow, and then we'll look kind of big picture on the Jets as we get set for the 2021 season. What do you expect in this one? Obviously, there's a lot of new faces on the Jets, new head coach, rookie quarterback facing Sam Darnold, so there's a ton of storylines there. Do you expect a low-scoring game, high-scoring game? How do you feel as a Jet fan entering the first game of the season against the Panthers?
Yeah, well, coincidental that you get Sam Darnold and Robbie Anderson as well, who Joe Douglas has repeatedly says, we pretty much missed out on that one. He had one good year. We'll see what he does this year. He stayed out of trouble, so that was a big miss by the Jets. But I expect, Jake, a low-scoring game. I expect an ugly game. You're not going to want to watch this highlight reel back for many years to come. But I expect, Sam Darnold wants to say, I know the Jets defense. Well, the Jets know about you too. So it goes both ways here. So I think it could go in the Jets direction if Zach Wilson is good and the O-line protects for him. The O-line got called out, Jake, by LaFleur, which you never see. He roasted his own offensive line in training camp. Maybe that's the kick in the rear end that they needed. But I think it's going to be an ugly game. I think it's pretty low scoring, something like a 23-20. But this could go either way. Both are not very good teams. If the Jets win, it's not going to stun the world. But if they lose, it's not going to stun the world either. So it's a coin flip kind of game. I know the Panthers are 5 or 6 point favorites, but I think the Jets got a good shot to win this one.
I totally agree. And I think really the key factor in this game could simply be, it's cliche, but just a turnover situation. Like if Wilson protects the ball like he did in the summer and the action we saw him in the preseason, I like Sam Darnold, but we know there's always 1 or 2 passes a game where you're like, what are you doing, Sam? You're throwing it to the other team. And the Jets got to catch those passes when it essentially hits them in the hands. I really think, Jake, and you tell me if I'm wrong here, the team that wins the turnover battle, it's cliche, but I feel like when you have 2 teams that are relatively speaking evenly matched, the team that does win that turnover battle might be the team that wins the game.
Yeah, and we know it well as Jets guys. We saw Sam Darnold see ghosts for his whole Jets career. So it's going to come down to turnovers. And listen, I'm very curious to see the run game and what the Jets do, because they got 4 guys. Everyone's like, who's the Jets fantasy starting running? Well, no one has a clue. I picked in one of my drafts Michael Carter, but just because of his speed, elusiveness, and everyone's talking about him. But who knows? Is it going to be Tevin Coleman? Is it going to be him? Is it going to be Ty Johnson, who has emerged as maybe the starter now? So the run game for Zach Wilson is going to be big, and feeding off that with play action. And we'll see, can Denzel Mims have a big second year? Corey Davis has looked great with him. And then tight end. Now, is Tyler Kroft going to be your red zone guy? Is it going to be Wesco? Is it going to be Griffin got that big extension and then did nothing after he got it? So I'm very curious to see this offense, how it works, because this Jets offense is going to, defense wins championships. For the Jets offense is going to win them games because their secondary is terrible. They don't have a ton of a pass rush, and they're relying a lot on Mosley and the safeties. So I think they're going to have to score to win games, and they're going to have to be turnover free to win games.
How do you feel about this offensive line that's going to be protecting Zach Wilson?
On paper, I think it's decent, but it just hasn't been in August. That's the thing. You're relying a lot on a rookie. You're hoping Becton is great. And Becton early on had to go up against Carl Lawson, who's out for the year. So he's not going to go up against many Carl Lawsons. He's going to go up against some elite defensive ends, but there's not many Carl Lawsons out there. So I think they're going to be okay. There's going to be growing pains the first couple of weeks and guys gelling together. But on paper, this is a decent offensive line, and they just got to go out there and prove it. So I'm not as worried about offensive line as I am about the cornerbacks, which is just an absolute nightmare.
So you look at this defense, and let's kind of talk more about them, Jake. Obviously, defensively, you're relying on CJ Mosley to play like the guy we saw for 3 healthy quarters, week 1 of 2019. The Jets need a big year from Quinnen Williams going into his 3rd season. Sheldon Rankins, a big free agent acquisition. Losing Carl Lawson, though, we can't sugarcoat it. That is a huge blow to this defense. What do you expect, though, from the Jets defense? You have a defensive head coach. You have a guy in Robert Saleh that is used to losing star players due to injuries. He went through it with the Niners last year, and they still had a very good defensive football team. What do you expect for the Jets defense in 2021?
Well, first off, I think they're going to have to put pressure on the quarterback. That's going to be important because, listen, they're going to have to get to him and make them make bad decisions. Week 1, you get a guy who is not good when he gets pressure, and Sam Darnold. So you're going to put pressure, and I think they're going to be good against the run. So that's the thing. They have a pretty good rush defense. I think Quinnen's going to have a big year. Fatou Kassi has become a staple, and Mosley knows he's got paid $29 million, has played 2 games as a Jet. So he knows he has to earn that contract this year. And I think sometimes the young guys, it's good that you play a lot of young guys because these guys all are hungry. They all have a chip on their shoulder. They're being thrust into positions they wouldn't be on probably 95% of other NFL teams. So they're being put in major spots early in their career, and sometimes that's good on guys. These guys want to earn their spot and earn a contract, and they have that defensive head coach. So on paper, it's terrible defensively, but, you can't go inside the minds of these guys and how they're thinking. So maybe, Guidry and Hall and Nasruddin and Eccles, these guys could end up being studs in their first year. Who knows? So I'm excited to see. Well, Guidry, we've seen a little bit of and some good signs already, but I'm excited to see some of those guys. And listen, if they're bad 3 weeks in, Jake, they might have to go make a trade. They might have to trade picks and go get help in the defense. But I'm not incredibly worried about the front 7. It's the back end that scares me. But they also got Marcus May playing for a contract as well, and they got a veteran, LaMarcus Joyner, who has played corner. If they need him to move to corner once they get Ashton Davis back off IR, maybe the second half of the year we see more Joyner at cornerback. He's a veteran. I know he wasn't as good at corner, but he is a veteran, has experience. So they do have a couple options back there. It will be what loses them 11 games, in my opinion, but I'm curious to see these young guys with a chip on their shoulder and hungry.
Yeah, and you also hope that the Jets coaching is so much better than what it's been. So maybe they could develop some of these guys, and Robert Saleh putting his faith in his coaching ability that he could coach up a lot of these young players, right?
Oh, there'll be growing pains with the coaches too, because it's first-time coaches all across the board. So first-time coaches, first-time cornerbacks. And a lot of not first-time Jets fans crying at their television sets on Sunday and going to the games. And that's something, too, you got to factor in is, fans back in the seats, which is going to obviously hurt these young guys on the road. It's going to hurt the offensive line of the road, but it'll help those young defenders at home. I'm going to go to Jets-Patriots, the home opener, and the third downs. Those cornerbacks are going to feed off the energy from the crowd. So I think that's something not to be overlooked is 80,000 people back in the building. We've seen how crazy some of the people are. I saw it in the Knicks playoff game. Some people a little too crazy and not behaving appropriately, but I think having fans back is great for young players. So that's something to watch for in that defense. And Sal is clapping. I want to see him clapping on the sidelines. I want to see that bald SOB look great on the sidelines. He's, a good-looking guy. Vin Diesel, Brandon Tierney are being a stunt double out there. Maybe if I lost 40 pounds, got tanner and more strong, I could be close, but I'm excited to see Saleh coach it up on the sidelines.
You mentioned Saleh. I mean, obviously, he's not Adam Gase, so he's still in the honeymoon period with most of the Jet fans, of course. What do you expect from Saleh year 1, though? Like, what are some things you want to see from a coaching perspective to get a feel, how he is as this team's long-term option at head coach?
I expect him, Jake, to be more of the CEO-like, which the Jets have been looking for. Gase, I mean, when the Jets were playing defense, Gase was sitting on the bench and looking over plays. He wasn't even watching some games when it came to defense. So Gase was an offensive coach. Rex Ryan was a defensive coach. Bowles was a defensive coach. He tried on both ends, and he had one successful year, but it hasn't worked. I think Saleh is going to be locked in on not just the defense, the offense, and he's going to be watching everything. And I think that demeanor is something that young players need as well. I think he trusts these young guys because he trusts his coaching ability. And not just egging them on and clapping, but teaching them how to cover a receiver, teaching them how to blitz on the inside, stuff like that you weren't getting from Adam Gase. He's a very likable guy, and Adam Gase had a face that you wanted to punch sometimes. Robert Saleh doesn't have a very punchable face. He has I want to have a beer with this guy and pump my fist at a DJ Pauly D show down at the Borgata kind of guy. And that's my kind of guy in the New York, New Jersey area.
Zach Wilson, is he your kind of guy, Jake Brown?
I don't know if I'm pumping fists with Zach Wilson. I might see a PG-13 movie with Zach Wilson, the baby face in New York. He might get carded going into any rated R movie we go to. I'm sure he still gets carded at every bar he goes to. I like what he brings to the table. I think he can throw a bomb. He's good in play action. He could run if they need him to. Darnold wasn't the greatest when it comes to mobility. I think Zach Wilson's a little bit more mobile. We'll see. I know people are raving to, Tony Romo calling him a top 5 quarterback in a couple of years, saying he could be in the Mahomes category. I hate preseason hype, and I don't even watch the preseason games, to be honest with you, because it's just unnecessary hype going up against 8th-string players. It's just not worth it. I want to see what he does against real defenses in real games that count. But everything you see on tape, you like the kid. The off-the-field stuff worries me with the mom a little bit. His mom's a little crazy on Instagram and all over the place. I'm hoping that doesn't get to him. People want to talk about that he's privileged. He's a family member. I think that was a founder of JetBlue or something, so he comes from money. This is New York City. Kaz brought up a good point on Gangs All Here and said BYU is big. Like, they have their own TV network over there. So while people think Utah, there's not a lot of attention, Kaz pointed to there's their own TV channel for the football team. So there's certainly attention there. I know that, you can't get a drink after 8 p.m. any day of the week in Utah. So New York's going to be different. And you hope that, that the headlights and the stage doesn't get too bright for him. That's the one thing we worry about, and his size maybe a little bit. But everything you see on paper on the field so far, I'm excited. It's a fresh start, Jake. And I think that's what the Jets needed after Sam Darnold, and just every Sunday it was rough watching him play. It was one play and then 10 bad plays. It was a lot of just one play a week that he would make. I hope Zach makes 5 big plays a week that lead the Jets to some victories.
No doubt. And I also think, with a lot of the concern about his mom and can he handle New York? I think he's quieted a lot of those concerns just by how he's dealt with the media so far. And I think it's a telling sign that his own teammates as a rookie voted him team captain. I think that's a really big deal.
Yeah, it is. And his ability to learn, he's all about the playbook and getting better. And you love to see that, because in this era, we see social media has taken over these guys' lives and their brand and everything of that matter. I think it's good that he's not fazed by it. He wasn't fazed when he was bad at the green and white practice. He said, it's practice. This is where I'm going to mess up. And I think that's essential for a guy not to worry too early. Oh, I stunk this day. Own it and move on and watch the tape and get better. And I think he's going to have games where he looks rough, and you're going to see the next week he's going to be better because he learned from it and watched tape. So I think there's not a ton of guys with that pedigree in today's game, at least his age and just coming out of college. So I'm excited to see him progress. Darnold at times regressed, and injuries played a part. The mono played a part. But I want to see healthy. First off, he needs to be healthy, because the Jets did not address backup quarterback. Mike White is their backup. You might as well throw me or you out there as a backup quarterback. If Zach Wilson gets hurt, the Jets might go 0-7. I was going to say 16, but it's a 17-game season. That's something they really do need to address, and I hope they do get a veteran backup. I know some people are like, oh, who cares? But injuries happen in the NFL, and I'd rather see a competitive team out there if he does get hurt. And he's going to get hurt in one of the games and miss at least a series here and there. It's going to happen. It's the NFL. So that's something that's a lot of people are overlooking, but the Jets got to go get a backup quarterback. My God.
Give me a couple guys on this team you're the most excited to watch. I think obviously Zach Wilson's one, and we just talked about him, so we could ignore him. But give me some guys on this team, new faces or guys, even it could be like CJ Mosley, who didn't play last year. Give me some guys that you're genuinely excited to watch play for the Jets starting tomorrow and, of course, throughout the course of the season.
Yeah, Mosley's one of them, because I think even in the one half he played, you saw the impact he made. I love to see a full 17 games of CJ Mosley, because they need him to be the team MVP. He is carrying that defense. I would have said Carl Lawson, but he's gone. I'm curious, Sheldon Rankins against the run and Quinnen Williams in another year. That's another guy I'm curious about seeing. And then Bryce Hall, he is the number one corner for this team right now. And if he wasn't hurt, he was considered maybe a first or second round pick last year. And he came in with injuries, and he's leading a defense as a guy in his second year who has 7 games of experience. So I'm curious to see what he does out there at cornerback. And then I'm curious, Corey Davis. I'm excited about Corey Davis. I want to see this guy be 1,000-yard plus receiver this year. I'm excited to see that combo of him and Wilson and see how it does. I'd love to see him be a major threat in the red zone, a major deep threat. I mean, when have we ever had a deep threat with the Jets? I mean, it feels like forever since that's been the true case. You can't really say last year they had a true deep threat. So I'd like to see Corey Davis be a Pro Bowl receiver. Make a Pro Bowl this year, Corey Davis. Surprise a lot of people and make a Pro Bowl. So Corey Davis on the offense, maybe Michael Carter as well. And then defense, I'm looking at guys like Hall, and I'm looking at Mosley to really be the anchor.
I'm surprised you didn't say Elijah Moore. Speaking of big play threat, a guy that can make a ton of plays and excite Jet fans.
Yeah, he's one too as well, but I think a lot of people have hyped him up so much, and I'm expecting good things out of him. But Corey Davis was the guy they paid big bucks. We're not going to see a Pro Bowl year from Elijah Moore. I think year 2, you're going to look at Elijah Moore being that true number 2 guy. But yeah, I'm excited to see his speed and see what he does, because he can play the outside, the inside, and he's got versatility. So everyone's hyped him up. But again, another play I want to see in real game action before I put him into Canton.
Give me a bold prediction for the 2021 Jets.
Oh, bold prediction. I'm going to say Zach Wilson lights it up. Let's just say that's the bold prediction. Right. Not that bold. I think he lights it up. He's going to have a monster year. He's going to do a lot for the offense. He's going to keep the Jets in games. They're going to lose games because of their defense and, maybe failing late. But I think Zach Wilson indeed does light up the NFL scene in his first year. And a lot of people have already said that, so maybe it's not that bold, but there you go.
It's bold when you talk about the Jets and a quarterback lighting anything up. No doubt about that.
Yeah, they've lit up the defenses with insane numbers and interceptions. The defenders are having Pro Bowl years when they play the Jets. So there you go.
Jake, let's get you out of here on this. For those who maybe missed your season preview with Brian Costello in the New York Post's Gangs All Here podcast, you guys did predict the Jets record. So for those who maybe didn't get a chance to hear the full podcast, give your take on what the Jets record for 2021 you think will be.
I said 6-11. I think the ceiling, though, is 8 wins. And I think the downfall would be like 4. If they win less than 4, I'm concerned. And it's not about wins or losses this year, but your quarterback will directly win you games. And if they only win 4, it means Zach Wilson didn't do enough to win them games. So I say 6. 7 if they could pull one of these out. If they beat Miami once, then it's 7. I think I had them losing both to Miami, but win against Miami, Buffalo, or New England once. Win one of the, because I think I had them 0-6 in the division. So if they get 1-5 in the division, I think they could win 7 because we talked about they don't play a ton of great quarterbacks. They play middle of the pack and below middle of the pack quarterbacks this year, mixed in with Josh Allen and Tom Brady, but Tua's and Burrow's still young and Hurts or Minshew. So they play a lot of guys, and Jacksonville comes to MetLife. How about that for Trevor Lawrence coming here? So I think 6 wins, maybe 7. Kaz said 5. But, man, if this team could win 8, I think Jets fans will there'll be a parade down the Canyon of Heroes if the Jets go 8-9.
No doubt about that. I mean, 8-9, are you kidding? And then, Wilson going into year 2 with 7 draft picks in the top 10 for Joe Douglas to improve the roster with. I mean, man, I agree with you. Just like a general thought overall on this team, like the wins and losses. Yeah, you want to win as many games as possible. But I feel like if we come away from this season feeling like the foundation's being set, and now the Jets could go into 2022 trying to fill whatever holes they still have, use the draft to get better. Like the playoff mandate should be 2022. If things go the way I think a lot of people could see 2021 going.
Yeah, maybe for a wild card next year. And, I want to see the coaches win them games. So I want to see Saleh make a decision that took some cojones that works. I'd love to see that because we haven't seen coaches have a positive impact on the Jets very much. I mean, Greg Williams single-handedly. I mean, yeah, it helped in the chase for Trevor Lawrence, but an all-out blitz against Oakland, or Las Vegas, I have to say, the Raiders. So I'd like to see the coaches also, rookie quarterback, big deal, make an impact, Zach Wilson. but these rookie head coach and Sal and LaFleur and these guys who haven't been thrust into these big roles, I'd love to see them go out there, because if that's the case, then you're not only trusting the quarterback and the roster, you're trusting your coaching staff that you made the right choices. Everyone's in sync, from the owner to the GM to the head coach to the players, and that's something simpatico, Jake, has been what's missing the last decade from the Jets. And Kaz wrote about that. And now we go to the next decade and hope for brighter pastures ahead and bring us some Rex Ryan-esque memories and maybe a Super Bowl to boot. I'd like to have one of those. I don't know what one of those things are.
Yeah, just one before we die, right? I mean, my God, wouldn't that be nice?
I'd like 2 before I die. I'm getting greedy, but give me 2, because I haven't seen a Mets one in my lifetime either, a Jets or a Knicks. So give me one across the board, a Mets, Jets, Knicks, and then I'll think about number 2.
There you go. He's Jake Brown, does an excellent job covering the Jets with Brian Costello on the Gangs All Here New York Post podcast. Jake Brown's great if you're just a New York sports fan. Follow him on Twitter at Jake Brown Radio. Does a great job covering all things New York sports. My name is Jake Asman. If you're watching this for the first time, please subscribe down below. Like this video, comment your thoughts after you watch it. Thanks so much for supporting this channel. Jake, this was a ton of fun, man. Go Jets. Should be a great season. Can't wait for tomorrow when we hopefully watch the Jets defense catch some Sam Darnold passes like old times maybe. I don't know.
Oh, yes. I'd love to see it in Bowtown. My family's all down there in Charlotte. Would love for my team to win there. Jake and Jake reunited. You fill in my beard. I fill in the smoother head. And we got both worlds combined. Thanks for having me on, bro.
There you go. He's Jake Brown. We will talk to you after the game. Go Jets, and let's hope they start 1-0 the next time I'm talking to you here on YouTube. See you guys. Enjoy the game.